Metafix? This is still Metafix? No, this is the Metal Lab. Metal Lab.
Metal
I
Lab.
don't even know the name of my own show anymore.
I don't even know who you are anymore.
What's my name? So
Those
we're gonna
posters
be
behind you are amazing.
We're going to have Wizkids Rules guru Brian Rupp join us a little later on in the show. He's just falling a little behind. He had to go chase his dogs around his neighborhood. So let's start with the week. And it's been a couple weeks since we've seen Jay and Jordan on the show. Jay, you were on the show for a couple minutes a couple weeks ago last. What have you guys been working on? Any neat teams? I know we're all kind of stuck on the pre-April ROC format. Any new tech you guys have discovered that you want to talk about, or?
Pandora. Never mind. Oh, you know what? I think I shared this team. Pandora and Hope.
I mean, we might get a new Pandora. Really well. Who knows if we'll even get a new Pandora, because they're apparently the chases in Flash, so...
It doesn't even matter, because the Pandora we have now, when you hope her, and you're all like, I have 4 probs, and I'm pulse waving you 12 and 5 as an Alpha Strike, starts to really hurt. And then if you don't outwit the right power, I'm like, bye, cross the map.
I'm thinking Warrior theme teams are gonna be really good.
Don't forget in the ROC pre-April format, tactics aren't.
Well, I mean, a team that happens to be Warrior theme is gonna be awesome.
But I mean,
you don't need to build them, but those you don't need.
Why would you restrict yourself? I don't even.
Guy Gardner is awesome, is what I'm saying basically. Just.
The only time I looked at keywords was for the ROC format. That even though Alyosha is not.
The keywords exist though. Like, do you have powers that work based on keywords? They still work.
Yeah, they still work. They'll still work. It's just you don't get
bonus is tactics.
Okay.
Not
like Silver Sable, you know.
Yeah, and that's why the Aloysia team I was explaining still worked with Hope, where I get 2 free move actions, and because we probably won't be seeing free action stopping in the ROC, because
I think White Witch could be interesting there.
I think one of the things about it, White Witch, it makes her less appealing in the ROC format is you have to devote 87 points to put her on the board. Now, the Prime one's okay, especially if you're starting to do damage with the White Witch, but it's very specific tech to be putting her in there, so it's a matter of is the rest of your team going to work with her? If you're playing an Iron Pharaoh, it takes away your bullseye backup, and I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. We will probably see a White Witch or 2 or 3 in the format.
I just don't like. I'd practice against it to plan in the fact that I wouldn't be able to just fly across the map, but I'd still think I'd be able to outplay it, considering it's probably coming from a Tellus team.
One of the things too is there's not as many ways to give move and attacks or there's like next to none. There might be a couple in this format, this no tactics, no possessing format. And White Witch is kind of a stand and shoot character. I think she's got 7 or 8 range.
Well, that's why I mentioned Tellus.
Yeah. So now she'll fit on a Tellus team. Don't get me wrong, because she is Legion of Superheroes keyworded. But I mean, it's just where I go, where my mind goes. Is we won't see an environment absent of her, but I don't think the teams that are going to have her are going to have enough of the elements that make it a problem.
Do the Welcome to the Legion trio? They end up giving the keyword.
Keyword in the wing symbol.
Okay, so does that mean they would give the keyword and the wing symbol to a new character that then could use Tellus?
Yes. Yes. So there are some characters, if you can hide a really low point utility character to use just as a gimme, or you happen to welcome a GCPD bike to the Legion. Yeah, I think the points work out on that relatively decent level.
It's no ATAs too, right?
Free movement out of the GCPD bike, but you are getting a movement across the board and something to move forward with your line of fire and extend it that much further with the Tellus. So, I mean, there's also probably better choices at 50 points, like a Lockjaw.
Yeah.
At 50 points, that Lockjaw is dirty.
He is.
But I still hate you, yeah.
And then I was also, I think, right before the watch list of Tellus, I think I had my friendship team, and I played Banshee, Professor X from AVX, Tellus, and the person on the other end of the rope was Deadpool, Ellie, X-Men. So the basically 20 defense wherever I was. And that was the friendship team, so no power actions between 8 squares of that of the Deadpool or my side, and then I was eliminating all your defense abilities. It was stupid. It was kind of stupid.
I'm glad you never made that tournament. You would have taught people too much.
I thought for a second when we were setting up teams for our last month of AVX, I thought Amber was going to run the Professor X team. That made me super angry at her on one video. But I mean, that's not 300-point metagame, but it was so very disgusting how my martial artist just got completely shut down by this team. But I do like Black Panther.
Amazing how in the Avengers vs. X-Men just had shitty LEs.
That was
And
one of
both
the things.
Avengers 1-1s were fantastic.
Yeah, the Avengers side was definitely getting the better of the giveaways. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Oh, Professor X was the Avengers side.
Yeah, Professor X was given to Avengers side, so.
We had Hope and Danger, and they had Black Panther, Professor X.
Why did they do that to my Hope?
No, I don't know.
Hands.
At our venue, the Avengers did an awful lot of house wrecking.
See, I want to point out my home venue. I played X-Men. Number 1.
I'm not going to say that like all venues Avengers wrecked house. It was a lot of great. I'm
not going to say that the X-Men suck, but
yeah,
that's totally not what I'm going to say.
Like
compared to what the Avengers were able to bring in, it was better. That's why I played the full constructed. I played it X-Men just because the sealed component, you couldn't really get X-Men with wax being allocated and gone.
And one of the things too is now that's not to take away from the fact that the players that did well in X-Men and AVX, they were good players because the X-Men side, they had a lot more work they had to do with regards to winning. I mean, now granted, there's a few characters that were they were standouts. Like Cyclops was a standout, Magneto was a standout, White Witch was there to fill. And, I mean, if you were really, really unhappy with a lot of the I think there's the wrong hangout got the invite to Brian. Yeah, send him another one. But anyway, what I noticed was a lot of the people would just play a 75-point Magic and build a team around that. And just like they would build mystical teams. And then
I did that month too. I 75-point Magic. Or no, I used the Colossus because he also had mystical. I used him on his lower point dial with a hammer, I think. And then I played Brother Voodoo. Can't remember. But it was mystical.
It was Here's for Hire on Brother Voodoo, give him Cyclops Fragment, and then be a complete ass.
Oh, and then Brother
Bloods. No, Brother.
They came out in Iron Man. They're
Brothers from Another Mother.
All right. We were just before you got on, Brian, we were reminiscing, if you will, about the AVX tournament format and how much shenanigans some of us got into and the styles of play that were followed in the two teams. So let me be the first one to welcome you to the show. Glad to have you on.
Oh, thanks a lot.
And I'll be the first one to welcome you to the Legion, as is my practice. That Cossack boy is retarded.
We have 3 of us, so I mean, we got enough points, I think, to get him on. All right. So I want to get into the interview portion with you, Brian, first to introduce our unfamiliar fans with who you are, where you're coming from, and why we have you on in particular.
Okay.
Now, I recently discovered from you yourself in conversation on Facebook that you are no longer in this position, but you are still one of the most recent ones I've had contact with. You are the head judge for Wizkids major events like Gen Con, Nationals, those kinds of tournaments.
Sure. Yes. I had a kind of long history with Wizkids, a long history that was pushed into a very short amount of time. I started playtesting a couple years ago, moved up to the RA spot, handed that off, and started doing development. During all of that, I was judging big events, so I have since moved on from all of that, and I don't think I'll be judging next year, to be completely honest. And I think I'm just on the twilight of my WizKids career, or post-twilight. But yeah, that's my status at the moment.
Now, behind the scenes, there's a lot of things going on with the rules, people making the rules, people interpreting the rules, if you will, on the event forums. Are you part of the team that's responsible for that, or were you, part of the team that was responsible for that?
Can you repeat the question? Like the basic game rules or the tournament rules?
I'm going over the game rules would be the first direction I'd go. Is like would you be
the rule team I was part of that. The current rules team was the team that I put together. When I moved on in WizKids, I handed the rules team off because that was a conflict of interest to have the same guy arbitrating the rules that are made. That the same guy who arbitrates the rules can't be the same guy who makes the rules, and you can't. I don't think you can evaluate your own product, without a fair amount of bias. So we moved that on. The rules in particular that you want to talk about that are, specific rulings that you don't like or you are point of interest.
No. I'm actually. Okay. I've been very happy with the event, the forums as they are right now. Amber has been spending an awful lot of time on them because she's been running our rules show, introducing new people to them. And I swear to God, she corrects me 3 times a game now. And we film like 8 games a week, and you guys only see the one that she corrects me the least on. It's like, wait, it doesn't work that way? How you go? What? No. But they've been doing a really good job, if you ask me, of setting this up. And the second they moved it to the public forum, away from that email system, that really, I like how it's now shared with everybody. Nobody's keeping their secret questions away from the world.
Well, you do understand that the rules email thing, that was a temporary holdover. That was something to bridge the gap between being on the forums they were on and being on the forums that they're on now. So that wasn't like meant ever to. That was never meant to be like the way forward. That was just meant to be. This is how we're doing it right now to get us through the interim. So thank God that's over. That was a mess.
Yeah.
The logistics of that were because you were answering any number of questions a week, and during a release week, we brought down to about 800 emails come down. So you have 4 guys answering 800 emails, most of which are the same question.
Mm-hmm.
Or the same series of questions. So, that was very quickly became a mechanism that was not sustainable. So that had to go.
Absolutely. I mean, the rules team has been, I guess it moved away from the HC realms of late, and it's WizKids' decision up to, how they want to operate the things. If they want to keep things close to their heart, I'm not going to complain. They're free to run their business. They've been doing a fantastic job as long as I've been playing the game. And they've had their stumbles. Every business that has to do a new thing has their stumbles. I went on a big rant about the team bases about 3 days ago. And I don't know. It started with, I don't know how those things left the design room, and then it triggers this long rant in me.
The armory gun.
Yeah, to preface that, I've played a lot of games, video and collectible, so I made an example of, look, they didn't make a deck card for Magic or an armory gun for Halo. The team base, so that's why the team base to me made no sense. Now that being said, they've done their job to make it more friendly for the game, but they exist and they're a problem. I mean, when I say a problem, it's still, if you look at the metagame, it's still something you have to be able to beat going in.
We saw at Worlds that a team base did show up, and a team base that was powerful last year in the Justice League with a new set of features on it from the strategy game. So those are still in the meta.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the New Mutants, which are what they are.
Yep.
So that element is still there. But this year, unlike last year, we saw a lot of things that really shut down the team-based strategy.
Yeah.
And I watched the game personally where the handcuffs were used to unbelievable effect on the Justice League team base. Handcuffs with a probability controller hovering over the JLA. That was it. And I watched that game for 25 minutes, and all I saw was JLA roll the break out of the handcuffs, make it, get probed, roll, miss it, and that was it. And it was just be on the team base until it's dead. So I think that big threat might be rearing its ugly head again because the handcuffs had just left Modern.
Yeah, they're on their way out next year. I mean, but at the same time, is Teen Titans probably still going to be in the Modern, eh? Or is Teen Titans going to be beyond?
Well,
No. Teen Titans came out before Wax, right?
well, okay, how it generally works is you see a pattern if you look at it. You have about 2 Gen Cons. You have about 2 Worlds tournaments in Modern. So if your stuff's been in 2 tournaments already, which I think, the Teen Titans has.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because
this might be the last year for this might have been the last year for them.
Yeah, because Teen Titans the year that the Ghost Rider team had to exist. Because it killed the Justice League. Because the rules hadn't yet changed on the team bases. They were taking 3 actions a turn at a 300-point level, and Ghost Rider was able to kill it in a single go. I call it the year Ghost Rider had to exist. It's a shame that he did exist. I mean,
He was the hero needed, not the one we deserved.
When you look back on historically, that was compared to other years, and with the looking in hindsight, that World's tournament and that Nationals tournament, that scene was more balanced than it appeared at the time, especially now, a year later, where the build selection was much more condensed than it was that year. Because in that scenario, you had stuff to beat Ghost Rider, and Ghost Rider beat Team Base, and Team Base would beat that stuff that beat Ghost Rider. So you did have a healthy mix, and there were several teams that tried to do their own thing and homebrew a solution to all 3 of those elements, but as we saw, they didn't get very far. But
yeah, I think Ross was the one who played he played a couple Blue Beetles, a couple Scarlet Witches, to eat the Alpha Strike with the Blue Beetles, and then try to come back and fight with the Blue Beetles, but you still have to fight with Blue Beetles against these characters. And Blue Beetles are good, they're just not as Alpha Strikey or as high-powered, say, as the Justice League or the Ghost Rider were as far as output.
I think that could beat the Justice League, but the Ghost Rider is a single target with, 9 clicks of life. That's 2 hits from Blue Beetle. That means he's almost out. So I think that would work, but the team bases just had too much. They're just too good. They're too deep.
Yeah, they were, and again, I can sit here and complain about them all I want, but I've made my complaints very vocal many times, and I just devoted a week to the bloody things, and I don't even want to talk about the comment section of my YouTube videos on that.
So, I'll ask you a question then. So the team bases that came out recently, like the Spider-Man team base, you feel that's a little more balanced than the Teen Titans stuff?
As far as the team bases themselves go, I haven't paid attention to the team base dial. I've been actually more interested in the pictures that come on these bases. So, like, for instance, the Trinity of Sin, I knew was going to, at its point values, it's like, okay, it's going to have good stats. I don't have to look at that. What I want to look at is what are these things that are coming on this team base that I might be able to make functional use of. I found the Trinity of Sin, especially in Pandora and Question, they were better suited for being on the board than being on the team base. I mean,
Right.
all they do on the team base is give the team base the powers that they stop off the board, and I felt they functioned a lot better off the board than on that thing. And it's the same I find with, I think it was the Iceman stuck out to me as a little bit better than most Icemen that I've seen.
Shit, but yeah.
And also Miss Lion is OP, but I'm gonna say that until I go blind.
See, I found the worst TVs to actually be Wolverine and the X-Men. Like the Shi'ar one, where I would raise 600 points, working together, and then interplanetary. I can't even say that word right now.
Interplanetary strike.
That's the one. It's like that was a thing that was like, because that was crazy. I remember playing that in AVX actually in month 4. I don't know how I beat it, but I did. He jumps over and fucking smacks you.
Well, because you let him jump over and then hypersonic away. Well, you shouldn't be able to do that because you're stupid.
I still won.
Yeah, but you're still stupid.
One of the things too that I did notice about the Shi'ar, I put the Shi'ar as like the Justice League kind of parallel in Marvel, but where it stepped a level above the JLA, in my opinion, was the JLA needed all the characters on it to avoid outwit. The Shi'ar has power cosmic, so I don't care how many characters are on that team base. Plus, it had Warstar to come off of that base, who's just absolutely phenomenal. Yes, I mean, he's probably one of the toughest characters on that team base, and was deserving of a super rare status as far as rarity goes.
Gladiator was pretty legit too. When you pop him off. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, then you pop off Beanie, now you have Outwit run around and Pulse Wave.
Yep.
Beanie.
And in a modern metagame, when you have a character that's got Battle Fury and all that shape change that's friggin' out there right now, I'm starting to specifically find ways to give my characters Battle Fury, or specifically find characters with Battle Fury to go on my team to just stop the shape change.
Yet another reason why the JLTB is so good, because Aquaman somehow is like, I ignore shape change for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So I want to kind of move over to your personal metagame that you're making. I looked it up just recently this morning because I had heard some things and I heard you mentioning it. Your Troll Kingdom tournament.
Yep, that's going to be a big deal locally. So I'm going to give you some background, then we'll talk about the actual event. So 2 years ago, I went to Origins. I came back with a bunch of stuff and a bunch of Connellys and stuff. And beyond I don't sell Heroclix, so I don't sell them. So I had this whole big pile of stuff I didn't know what to do with. So I decided, hey, I'm going to throw this tournament, and I'm going to give these things away. So I advertised it for about 10 days and threw the tournament, and I had 70 people show up to a venue that only seats about 30. So we had a very successful tournament after Origins, and I told the guys it wasn't well organized because I did it in 10 minutes. If you guys want to come back, I'll do it again after Gen Con, and people who are here can just walk in and play, and then anyone who comes later will charge them their admission fee and all that. So the second tournament was kind of a makeup tournament for the first one, and the Gen Con tournament was much bigger. We did at a different venue, and I brought some of my local guys in to help me judge it, and it blew up. And it was very successful, and we gave away a lot of stuff. And we did it last year again. And again, both tournaments. We only did one tournament last year, and it was big. We had about almost 100 people. And we gave away, I think it was all set done, counting bat belt items, we gave away over 200 Con LAs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know what 200 Con LAs look like. I'm happy I got 6.
I should go to my basement and get the prize box and show you guys what we're giving away this year, but it's ridiculous. My basement's full up with Heroclix stuff. So this year, a lot more of us went to Gen Con. As you guys know, a lot of the guys who help me judge Worlds are local guys to me, which I heard that was a problem for some people in the realms. But and then we had some guys that are doing judging from the local area who were judges here who went to Gen Con. So I recruited them and asked them to give some prizes up. And then my core group and I have been trading with the community to try and get more prizes for about the last 6 weeks. So I think we're done with prize gathering. But we have. I'm going to say probably with constructs and bat belt items and all the stuff we scraped together, probably 300 con elements we're going to give away on the 22nd of November at Games and Stuff in Glen Burnie, Maryland. And we do this because I feel like the con exclusive stuff, although it is never very meta, with the exception of maybe Batmite before he got nerfed, and maybe Dupe a little bit, they don't have a meta piece to it, but they're desirable to the players, and people want them. And I can't personally justify going on eBay and spending $60 for these things. And if I can't justify it, I'm certain there's others that can't justify it too. So instead of us as a group in the area sitting on these things and just hoarding them, we're going to just give them away. And we're going to give them away in the tournament format. We do a raffle, and we give stuff. Sometimes we give stuff away at the door. It just depends how much we have coming in versus how much we have going out. So this year we're doing it on the 22nd. We did it last year. We tried to, if you guys recall, last year Iron Man came out about this time, and I tried to do a release week sealed with Iron Man. Because I'm stupid and I don't learn. I planned the event for the Saturday after the release was scheduled. And sure enough, Alliance couldn't pull it off, and that set got delayed 2 weeks. So a week before the tournament was kicking off, we had to change the entire scene. This year we're going to be a little smarter about it. We're going to do it 3 weeks after Flash release. Maybe we'll get lucky, and
It'll only be one.
We'll have a release weekend tournament. Now this will be the one that releases on time. So
Yeah.
so
Well,
anyway,
Flash, they might even release early.
God, I hope not, because we're kind of hoping on people wanting to get that Flash set to come out to the event.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do this year is we're going to go to 200-point tournaments called speed rounds. If any of you guys play at Gen Con, you know that late in the evening you do a speed round where it's 30 or 40 minutes and you play and win because we want to get out of there and we're getting thrown out of the tournament hall. So we're going to do something like that. It's going to be on Battle Royale size maps with 200-point figures, a 200-point build out of a set list of figures that I think goes as far back as Captain America and comes as far forward as Flash. For the most part, we already know what that list of figures is. We just haven't released it yet. That should be coming next week's the first weekend of October, so we'll probably put the first batch of them, the first 10, on our tournament page. On our tournament pages on Facebook and the Realms and all that next weekend. But it's going to be themed around hypersonic speed and stopping hypersonic speed, and you're going to see a lot of figures that are in the 60 to 120 point range that you're going to be forced to build your 200-point force out of.
Okay.
We're also doing a Flash Sealed, and I can't remember what our side events are. That's that.
You also have listed, I have it open here. You have listed a Team Sealed with Invincible Iron Man.
That's right. We're going to try and dump some Iron. We're doing the 1-year anniversary of Iron Man. So I think what I might do if we keep doing this from years on out is we're going to always have an Iron Man event. I don't know. I was a big fan of Hulk. I don't think that set stuck so bad, but Iron Man, I think we all universally don't like Iron Man.
You know, as a whole, there's maybe 2 figures that lasted about a week and a half on the scene with that set, and Iron Pharaoh.
Right, and Iron Pharaoh, right.
Yeah. It's like,
While I didn't like the set for Sealed, there were a lot of characters in that set. The War Machine Prime, the Silver Centurion, all the Iron Chases I enjoyed. Tony.
Rescue's an amazing support piece.
Yeah, the Extremis Tony that I can mind control my own friendly robot or armors. He's amazing. The Pepper, she's good. I enjoyed that set as an Iron Man fan. I got what I wanted out of it.
You said you didn't like it as Sealed. I loved it in Sealed, but I couldn't find a use for it in Constructed.
Well, in Sealed, I always pull Titanium Man.
Ugh.
Like, always.
you remind me of me in War of Light. I always seem to get a weapon or a Sodomyat. It's just like, I can't not.
That must be tough. Yeah, so we're gonna do the Iron Man anniversary sealed, and we're gonna everything we're gonna be prizing out is gonna be pretty high. We actually got to acquire a full set of the constructs, the convention constructs, and we're giving that away as our 200 I can't remember what we're calling our block series main event prize. And everything else will be either full con LE sets or a Marvel set or a DC set from this year as prizes for everything else. And the team, we're going to do 2 full sets, 1 for each player, whatever, or 1 set for each player, whatever the case may be. We still have prizes coming in. I'm waiting on 2 guys to actually get their act together and ship off the Facebook page, but beyond that, it's going to be pretty big. We do raffles. I think we're going to try. At the last podcast I did talking about it, I kind of got cornered into providing pie. So I think we're going to have some pie at the event. Because who doesn't like pie? You know, so we might try that. Might try and throw some food. It's in beautiful Glen Burnie, Maryland, right off not too far from Baltimore. So we have a couple people coming out from the Midwest. It's going to be a good time. I think it's going to be bigger than. I think it might be bigger this year than it was last year, which will be a surprise. But we'd be happy to see that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of making a couple tournaments internationally this year. That one's a little early on my schedule. I think I was going to start my American tour in January if I'm lucky enough to maintain some weekends free. As paperwork is actually starting to get done now for me to be able to cross your borders.
You're the one. Are you involved in the March 8th, I think, event that's up on Windsor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all planning on going, the 3 of us, because we have no excuse to not go. It is a distance from our area, but it's worth it. It's just like Ottawa. It's 3 hours the opposite direction.
Right.
So it's not a terrible place for us to go. I know Amber is volunteered to judge, which is going to cause me to yell for another judge sometimes, I'm sure, at my table. I told her immediately, it's like, I don't want to get accused of anything. If you come to the table when I call judge, I'm calling judge again.
Yeah.
One, because
I think that's one that we're actually going to make the trip for. My group of players who were normally judges at the big events, I think we're going to go into the player pool and start playing with the Rubicon guys and doing stuff like that. Because they are kind of local to us. They're about an hour south. Because it's, I think it'd just be more fun to play at a big event than it would be to do what we do now, especially with the climate in that group. I think it's time to start playing. So we're trying to let this con season dissipate a little bit. And hopefully in the winter we're going to start traveling. But the one we definitely know we're coming to is the one up in Windsor, and we're all looking forward to that. Because it's odd. I've been to 96 countries in my life. I've never been to Canada. So it's right there. It's been there the whole time, and I just can't pull it off. So we're going to try and. Hey, we're here.
You want to keep it down there? It's.
I think that's going to be fun. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's just like America with a little bit more apologizing and the word "eighth."
I hope it's not like America, but part of the reason we do the events we do is that because you see these people online, like you guys. Up to this point, I haven't spoken to any of you, but you guys are, Heroclix. I don't want to say celebrities, but you're well known in the community, and we don't know each other, and I don't know some of these guys over here or over there. And I think our game would be better if we all knew each other.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's one of the reasons I kind of started this part of the show. Is I've kind of been stalking these world champs for the better part of a couple years now. Like I've been watching Worlds actively ever since they started putting them on YouTube. I've also been tracking how the tournaments or how the players do and everything like that. I've always kind of wanted to go to Worlds, so I've started this show to kind of talk to the people, get a face-to-face. I mean, I know I'm not there yet. I got to meet some people at Canadian Nationals because we got our own big tournament here for once, and it was really exciting to actually meet Patrick, who'd been on a tear for a little while. I got a chance to sit across the table from Kevin Afruz and play probably one of the closest games I've ever played of Heroclix in my life. and I also I'm putting myself more out there now, and this all kind of came because me and Amber's been on a lot of downtime. Her career choice isn't suitable for our two new bundles of joy, if you will. The twins, when they were born, they introduced a financial terror that is unmatchable in daycare. So our daycare costs would double if Amber was working. Plus, we need an after-school program for our daughter as well. So origin story of us is we've been watching a lot of video game Let's Plays with the Rooster Teeth guys and other groups, and it was like, you know what? That would be fun if we did that with Heroclix, and we liked watching the world videos. And we swear at each other when we're playing Heroclix. So I mean, people are bound to get laughs. And we've considered our other board games that we play on the channel, and at the same time we've also considered how quickly we'd have people complaining about the language we use playing those games. So we decided Heroclix is the most polite that we are across the table from one another. But that said, we're just we're putting our faces out there so that we're kind of showing people we know how to play the game, and at the same time when we show up to these tournaments, they're not surprised by the fact that I can actually bring it to a certain degree. So I'm both showing my penis, if you will, and and sharing it with the world.
I don't just show mine. I spin mine around 360 style. Come on, people, see my skill.
That's one of the pieces that worries me about playing is that we don't play a lot of meta stuff. We play a lot of sing your heart song stuff and play what you want, and I think the meta thing is a whole different animal. And it's not so much the pieces; it's the environment of what people will and will not allow. And it just seems ridiculous when you get into.
But unfortunately, every competitive community, once you get to that is the competitive world, you're always going to find people who almost seem like they lack the basic functionality of still talking to other people. Because they'll be like, no, I can't talk to you, you're a waste of time. If you're not making me money, you're wasting me time in this. I got to just doing this. It's like if you were working your job and a customer came up and was wasting your time, you don't just yell at them, you know what I mean? Right,
you don't blow them off.
But it happens in competitive games. I've had, I played video games for a long time competitively and to a semi-professional level. There would be people who would just be like, if you're not paying me, I'm not talking to you. I'm glad that Heroclix is much better than that, but there are still going to be people like, nope, you moved that piece before you made your beginning of turn action. I don't want to.
That's what I'm talking about. And then, so I think the fact that there's two things on that. The one that we don't play for money is a big deal. I think that's important. Because if we did, I think that would change. I think that would change the dynamic quite a bit. We do play for valuable prizes, but they're not. It's not cash, and that keeps a certain aspect out of it. But 2 years ago at Worlds, or a number of years ago at Worlds, I had an individual who is a world champion playing Heroes for Hire, or his opponent was playing Heroes for Hire. At the beginning of the game, the individual did not put 2 tokens on his Hero for Hire APA card. And this is in the top 32. This individual calls me over and says he didn't put those tokens down, so his Ghost Rider can't use the Heroes for Hire. I'm like, okay. I was like, why is that? And he said, well, it says he has to have tokens on it. I'm like, I get it, but is this something you really want to press? Because he has 2 figures. He qualifies for 2 tokens. Is this something you want to press? He goes, yeah, I want to press it. I'm like, are you sure you want to press it? Are you sure? Because it's one of those things where it's a sportsmanship thing, and you're not trying to play the game. You're trying to win by denying an individual his strategy. Okay, because you're setting up at Worlds, it is a stressful situation. He forgot to put his 2 tokens on there. I'm sure he said these 2 characters have Heroes for Hire. So what's the fault? And that moment was a key moment for me in my vision of what Heroclix should be, because there was no reason for him not to allow that individual to play his army as intended. but he was doing it simply because he wanted the easy win in the round. And I wonder, would he do that to his friend who was sitting across the table from him, or someone that he knew at his venue? No, probably not. But he's doing it at Worlds, and that's the type of attitude that Worlds breeds at the moment, and it's unfortunate. I don't think it was. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, which is why I really like the idea or the ruling that kind of came in, like if a character makes a ranged combat attack, and the only power showing is Psychic Blast, it's a Psychic Blast. Like,
yeah, so we got together as a group after last year's Worlds and said, we're going to enforce a don't be a donk rule.
I had people doing that on a local venue. Oh, you didn't
do it
see
at local
Psychic Blast.
venue too, but it's harder to do at Worlds because you have to have a judge who has some authority, and they have to trust your judgment. And we felt that the players trusted us enough to try this, and we tried it at Origins, and it went over really well. All the things we did at Origins, which was a very big departure from what we were told to do the year before, really went over well. Like, we provided dice for the last round, and people really seemed to like that, which, I don't know. I don't understand that, but we provided dice. We introduced the don't be a donk rule, so it went over really well. And that was the exact example that I used when I explained about the Psychic Blast, is that chances are, if you're making a ranged combat attack, you're using Psychic Blast, if it's showing. But there's no reason not to. Even if they don't have a damage reducer, chances are you're still going to Psychic Blast. Knowing that as a player, does it make it easier for you to play the game against the guy with Psychic Blast? Yes, it does, because you know it's coming every time. So it was a win-win for everybody, and we were glad that was very well received.
Yeah, I agree with that kind of ruling. Now I want to ask your question on this because you're a judge, and I had an issue come up with me in Canadian Masters. I feel like a jerk about, and it's similar to this kind of vein, and because it happened the way it did, I constantly feel guilty about having to deal with it this way. At Nationals, I believe it was the third round. I was playing against a fellow using a Weaponer, Blind Owl, and a Blue Lantern Recruit. He did a little bit of perplexing, moved some characters, and then he repositioned everything, done his moves, and then he's like, "Oh wait, I want to do something differently," and I was hesitant on that. Like, I had to hesitate. I was like, I don't know if this is cool because I haven't been in Worlds, I haven't been in Nationals. I had to call a judge over. It's like, is it cool if he does this? Now, if you're the judge, he wants to take back all these things. No dials moved. A lot of perplexing, a lot of moving. If you're the judge, I called you over. I said he wants to take this back. I'm not sure if he can. What would you, as the judge, do in the position? Because what the judge did to me was said, "You decide," and I was like, "No, I called you over because I don't want to decide."
This is what I would say is that if he tokened the figure, the move is made. I feel that it sounds like he changed his strategy in the middle of his turn, or he knows something that he had missed, and now he wants to restart his turn.
And I'm not going to lie, a part of my reaction was noticing that too.
Okay, that's just what it sounds like to me. Is that it sounds like he wants to restart his turn because he knows something. I would say this to you. I would say his moves are made. He is tokened up, and those two moves are complete. If you want to let him do that, that's fine with me. I'm not going to say you can't, but the rules say those moves are made. So it's on you as his opponent if you want to be a sportsman or not. That's a bad word to use.
Because I wouldn't say you're being unsportsman by playing the game.
It's not unsporting not to let him do it. So I would say this. If you want to let him do that and give him that advantage this turn, that's on you, and I'll remember it when I vote for fellowship. But as a player at a big event like that, I would say you've already made two moves. I'd probably let you take one back. But I'm not going to let you restart your turn. Because, I understand, like I said before, big tournaments like that get under your skin. They're nerve-wracking. It's a bad scene. And you get nervous and you make mistakes and you play too fast or you play too slow. You overthink stuff. So I think some degree of leniency is appropriate. To let a guy take his whole turn back, I don't know if I would do that. I as a player, I know I wouldn't. As a judge, I would phrase it in such a way to let you know you don't have to and there's no penalty not. That's where I'm at with it.
So just so you know, Philippe, I do feel bad about it.
I don't know. It sounds like I wouldn't feel bad about it because it sounds like that this individual just missed something, and that's if no one missed anything and no one made any mistakes, games would not be fun. It would just be this constant chess game, this constant chess battle, and it's the dice and human error make the game fun.
By the end of the game, too, the game still turned out to be a gigantic bloodbath, and it was another really close game. It came down to my Captain America being the last figure on the board, his pushed weaponer on the stop click, and time. I think they said there was 5 minutes remaining at that point, and he's like, "I'm not going to be a jerk. Make the attack." So he still ended up being a gigantic sport out of the whole thing too, and it's just because of that too. I feel that extra level of guilt of having to call the judge over and be like, I can't let you take it back because it's going to cost me the game. So that said, and since we're talking about being a jerk and not being a jerk, there have been some incidents lately in the greater community of Heroclix that have caused a great deal of concern about the way we're treating each other on the internet. I'm not finding so much of an issue in person. In my venues have been really good for sportsmanship. I've gone to a couple of new venues. People have been great in person, but there's this internet personality, but the Heroclix community that is it's pushing 4chan levels.
Yeah, I'm not sure which instance you're speaking of. I was involved in 2 of them, which were a good time, and that was sarcasm. It was not a good time. I think a lot of that could be alleviated if we all knew each other. But at the same time, I think I said on another podcast, I think there are some people who just are what they are. And I think that whether you know them in person or you know them on the internet or they have a pseudo-identity like some of these individuals do, their role, how they perceive themselves is portrayed in their posts. And, I don't like using names on, calling individuals out, so I won't do that. But those individuals, and there's one that lives in the Philly area, and I suspect he is going to come to my event after things he said about me personally. And I wonder, because he's come to my events before, and I wonder what integrity does this individual have when he says all these horrible things about an individual and how bad they are, but then yet they take the opportunities to take their free stuff, when free stuff's offered. So I think we have to take these guys with a grain of salt because they say things on the internet to maybe ingratiate themselves with the community or try and sound intelligent, but they do not have the courage of their convictions, and that's their internet personality, and then what they do in real life is different. So although the realms and to a lesser extent the Facebook communities are, I don't even know how to describe them. I can't think of a word that properly covers it, but they are fairly self-centered and they like to have their opinion heard. I think that really a lot of these people are just doing it for the entertainment purposes. When we got a hold of the thread about the gentleman from Majestics talking about how we docked in points, that thread had already been going 4 days or 3 days, and we finally got a hold of it. And I thought it had a serious side to it. The individual felt like he was wronged, and I don't like causing that in someone. So we wanted to talk about it. But all the stuff from after the first post to the last post, most of that stuff in there was just static. People calling for people's heads and not liking how other people do business, and it was. I don't know how many people were actually at the event who were commenting on that, but it just felt like, it felt like something was happening on the street. They just wanted to get involved. And I don't know. I don't know what it says about us as a group.
Yeah, my most recent issue, I got a little. I don't know how many people who watch the show watch it or know what happened, so I'm not going to mention any names or any Facebook groups. But somebody on a Facebook group, it was shown that he made some rather unfortunate comments about Jay, who is one of the other fellows who's in the cameras a little earlier, and they were not nice comments. They were actually very, very bigoted, very disgusting kind of comments that I don't want to see said about anybody I know or said about anybody, period, for that matter. I hit a little closer because it was Jay, so I immediately turned to that guy and said, I'm going to make sure that my channel is not in any way, shape, or form linked to this Facebook group anymore. One, because it's not, you don't want, as having an actual name out there, like Married with Clicks and being a production thing, you don't want your name linked in any way, shape, or form to anything in that manner. It kind of look at what happened with the NBA owner and his little comments, and you don't want to be linked to that. Everybody kind of went away from that, and you never want that kind of thing to happen. But what we did also, what I have had to do as well, is I've had to jump in some comment sections on YouTube and just explain to people, like, the way you're acting is not pleasant. I've actually had to use my daddy voice, if you will, on some YouTube commenters. And I know we got a chuckle about the comment while we were on Ryan's show, but some guy had said Patrick should cut his face off for the way he played the finals game, and I was like, why?
You see, I watched every bit of the finals game. I don't understand what the problem was. Patrick had a very efficient strategy, and the word efficient, I mean, is that he was never token to the point where he couldn't.
Go ahead, sorry.
He had a very good strategy. I don't understand. I think Patrick had the advantage on build anyway. I think he was going to win that game just based on his build. But Patrick is a good player nonetheless, and his strategy was sound. I don't understand how anyone could question how he played that last game.
You know what? When I've said it just about every time that this topic has come up, the difference between being good at this game and being less good at this game is knowing when it's time to not get punched in the face. He killed the Scotty's Warbot, but if he would have stayed and kept trying to kill, say, the Silver Centurion, he would have been in a position where, when his opponent took his next turn, he was going to get hurt big time in a retaliation. And so he had to move out of that situation. A boxer's not going to sit there, punch you, and then drop his hands and let you punch him in the face a couple times. That's just not how these kinds of things happen. And I've kind of alleviated the fire on people who meant, we shared the video on our channel. A couple people were like, oh, you just hit and ran. Was he supposed to stay and lose the game? And then people say, oh, I can't. I hate it when people do that. Well, that's because the strategy you're using or the style of play that you're using can't win the game all the time.
It's easy to do that.
You just said the style of play at the highest level of Clicks competition is that was the highest level. You're looking at it right then. Arguably, or definitely the best player in the world right now, and arguably a player who was in the top 5 of the competition for the second best player in the world, playing a game with the entire tournament at stake, something they've been working 4 days to get to. So of course you're going to see the most viable strategy used. And what Patrick did was he conserved clicks and didn't give points away and forced his opponent to move rather than attack, and it was a very good strategy. So I think that's just a case of someone not appreciating the meta style versus the casual style.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to do what you got to do to win. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you're choosing to do. If it's sitting in a corner and using barrier 3 times in a row, then do that. But do whatever it takes to win. I mean, it's a game based on winning. It's not based on losing.
You were saying about the bigoted comments and things like that, and I think a piece we all have to remember is that Heroclix has grown to a point now where we're very big. We have a lot of followers, and there's a lot of people to play, and we've become a microcosm of society itself. So you're going to have those types of people, along with you're going to have very good-hearted people and very shy people, and it's just a matter of numbers. We have enough people now where that a lot of people have joined the community that maybe don't have the social outlook that we all do, and that thing's going to happen. I think it's very short-sighted, that individual, because I did read the comments the day they came up, and I was surprised that it did not get the attention that it should have from the greater Heroclix community, because that individual, as far as I know, is very well known in his local area. So having an individual like that, it's one thing to say something under your handle on HC Realms where you are semi-anonymous. If you wanted to, you could. No one, if you chose to, you could make it so no one could affiliate your real name with your handle. Conversely, on Facebook, you're using your real name and like, hey, this is a picture of me, and this is my real name, and here's some details, and I'm going to say these things. So maybe that individual wasn't. Maybe he felt that was a private conversation or something else, but it's unfortunate it came out that way, because now, on top of the embarrassment of being known like that, you have to go in front of your people and explain that at your local venue or whatever. And that's a hot mess. I'm glad I'm not a part of that.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I wanted out of it fast, because I didn't want to start seeing people comments like, why are you posting on this guy's thing? Why are you affiliated with it? I wanted no need. There's no reason I should have to explain myself for his behavior. Now, that's the other thing too, is a lot of people saying, I've met this guy in person, he's nice. Look, that's fine, but why can't he convey that on the internet?
Well, because I think that when these guys do these things on the internet, I have a handful of guys on the realms that I just straight ignore, that I never see their comments, because there's nothing positive. There's never anything positive, other than maybe buy my Heroclix stuff. Other than that, there's nothing positive these guys put, and I don't even know if that's positive. Nothing they put into the community is positive.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm not quite mean on the forums or on the Facebook group, but I've been told that I'm much nicer in person, if that means anything.
Well, tone. It's a matter of tone, too. Maybe your tone, maybe you write like you speak, and then your tone in person conveys a different feeling than your words on the internet. And you have to keep in mind, when people read stuff, it's going through their filter. They're going through their filter how they want to hear it. So if they want to hear something negative, and maybe that's what I'm doing too when I read these four guys on Realms. Maybe I'm putting the negativity on it, but I don't know. I don't think I am. But I don't know. I think if we could get away from the Realms altogether and do Facebook, I think that'd be better, because if you have the audacity to go on Facebook and say, under your real name, and say, this is what I think, and then have people have the opportunity to rebut you, both in person and in online, I think there's a little more credibility there. If you hide behind your Realm screen name and just spew that trash, you see, those people are the reason why the Realms are the way they are. Because I want to say this first before I say this next part. I wasn't part of the decision to leave the Realms, have the rules team leave the Realms, or anything like that. And I didn't discuss with anybody. But thinking about it logically, having a company say, I want you to go to this website and look at our rules, because we have 5 very bright rules guys who do the rulings there, and I want you to read what they have to say. No company on earth is going to refer their customers to a community like the Realms to read rules, or to get any information, because that is the most negative area of the internet I've ever been on. Okay, now granted, I don't do a lot of 4chan or Reddit. So the most regular negativity I get in my life is from the Realms.
I do have to say, there is a /r/Heroclix on Reddit, and it is way more polite than HC Realms.
What?
Yes, the Heroclix Reddit is less negative than HC Realms. There's a Reddit that is better than another environment.
But I feel like Realms
I've never been there.
I
should check that out.
It has like these resident trolls. You'll see on almost every dial posting or every major discussion, these people come in and they almost seem to do the same trolling against the same people that just post. And it's almost like it's an online feud, like Romeo and Juliet. It's like you're you're part of this side of the Heroclix community, so if you start posting, I'm going to start flaming you. I've seen the same people argue with the same people over nothing just because they started posting.
Yeah. So I've read it, but can you, is it the same deal as, like, you have screen names on HC Realms, or is it by real name?
It's like HC Realms. Reddit is 100% anonymous, so I'm going to give it out now. I'm Chicago 2000 on Reddit. The nickname, it's funny because I'm Canadian and almost my video game nicknames are Chicago, but there's a long story with that involving a lot of drinking, a comic convention, and a 400-pound man who needed to be carried into his bedroom. Now that said, again, like Reddit, I was very shocked that the Reddit community of Heroclix is probably one of the most well-moderated ones out there, and it is moderated by their usernames are Red Gears, Candy Wolf, and Cosmic Pancakes, and I think I've seen them post questions on the rules forums too. So they seem like smart people, and they do a good job of moderating it. Now, there's nothing they can do about the downvotes we get on our video posts on Reddit. That's just the thing that's going to happen regardless. But again, it's a community. Because it's a Reddit community, it's not as easy to parse through the information. There's going to be some repeated things. Some people are just like, hey, check out my pictures of Heroclix. So it's not the first source of information like HC Realms is, and that's, I think, one of the things that keeps HC Realms going is its units section. I generally stay away from the forums for the most part, and when I do post, I try to be polite, and I try to make sure I know what I'm talking about, and I do accept when I'm incorrect immediately. But I think one of the most important things about HC Realms is its unit section is one of the best tools that's on the internet, and
yes.
Its forums could use with a little bit more moderation in the right places and a little less in the wrong places. Me and Amber ran across a little issue where Amber started inserting the videos, like embedding the videos in our posts on HC Realms under the AV section, and somebody didn't like the naughty language, and it was like, you've been posting for a while, why are you commenting about the language in our video now?
Because they just now caught it. And I think you can get on the wrong side of the moderators. I think a lot of them, that group is a very tight-knit group, and you can't, if you say something that one of their boys don't like, I got a ridiculous warning off of HC Realms, which has become a joke in our local community about what you are and are not allowed to say in Soviet HC Realms. But
Soviet HC Realms.
Yeah, that's what we call it now, because it's just that it's become, when Guardians of the Galactic Guardians came out, I thought that was the height of HC Realms' popularity, and since then it's gone way down, and the moderation and it just seems like they choose to enforce some things and they don't enforce others, and it's become a parody of what it used to be. So I don't know. It's still, thank God for the unit section, because I think if they didn't have the unit section, I don't know. Someone needs to make a better fan site.
I'm not gonna lie. If the ability was upon me, I would do it. But
Can I put you on hold for one moment? I'm gonna step away for one moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, Jordan. Do you have anything to chime in with regards any further on the current state of HC Realms? I'm going to call it post-Orange removal because that's when I really noticed the worst of it. Although he might be right about the Galactic Guardians being it.
Back.
I mean, they've been adding their own oranges, haven't they? I mean, don't we have one of our local guys are an orange on the Realms now?
Yeah, commenting on that is what got me in trouble. But yes, they do have oranges, which I guess their role would not, and I don't know for sure because I'm not part of that community, but I guess their role is to go through the the rules form on Wizkids site, take official rulings, and then put them on the web on HC Realms. So I guess they're like they're just transcribing. I don't know what the point is, but
One of the things I did notice very recently about the new WizKids forums is they've answered so many questions at this point. I almost feel like every time we have a local, the Greater Toronto Area Facebook group, a lot of the times there will be a question that comes up on that group, and I immediately use a search option on that forum. I have that ruling. And I have a link, and it's posted, and the topic's over.
Which I wish people would just use instead of posting to ask people and bother for them, because it's almost as easy to type the whole thing out and ask your opinion on it than to just search it up and read.
Right.
But it's one of those things that's, before this all existed, I mean, there's been quite a few occasions where I was the guy that, used the search option in a PDF to look it up in the player's guide. I mean, I for the longest time at Comic Warehouse, I was the only guy who regularly looked at the player's guide to read. There's a lot of reading that's involved in this game. I got to admit, it takes
a lot of memorizing.
Yeah, a lot of memorizing. And I'm kind of actually glad that the group that I play with at the kitchen table group that I have, they don't bother to learn the rules. So if it wasn't for that fact, I would not know as much about the rules as I do, and I still feel like there's some gaps where certain timings kind of mess with me, but I had that problem with Magic the Gathering and Versus system when I was playing those, too. There's always going to be some kind of timing thing that I didn't quite fathom or think about at that very second, and it causes a mistake.
Any of these games that are, like, not, I guess, real-time, like a video game, there's always timing issues and mistakes to worry about. The worst are when recently, I guess somebody just decided to post out with the recent ruling you were talking about, where they posted it on our Facebook page rather than just searching it up. But they asked about the mystics and the zombies and the coming back by giving the food token, and they solved that in Heroclix with the whole active player to chooses when things do happen at the same time.
Yeah.
But without knowing that ruling, people kind of just go, well, what happens first? Something has to happen first. No. That player can choose. Like, nothing has to happen. They get to choose.
You see, we have I judge at a venue, a pretty big, one of our venues, and at that venue we have a bunch of playtesters and another rules guy and a former RA and all that, and we don't use the core rules all the time. We have house rules that we use. And then we have a league where we have that everyone who's in the league has been affiliated with Wizkids at one time or another. So, and even that group uses a completely yet different set of changed rules, because the current rule set, I think, is written for anyone to understand. I think sometimes it's oversimplified, and then sometimes you get into this other side of the spectrum where it is crazy complex for no good reason. So, even us that play on the reg, we play regularly every week, and we have league games and all that, so we don't even use the core set of rules. So I think that's something Wizkids should probably look into, is putting a new rule book out that is, I don't want to say 2.0, but there's a lot they need to change. They should probably go ahead and start that.
There's one thing I think, and correct me if you disagree with me or anything. There is one big thing I think could really help the entirety of the rule set of Heroclix, and it's a series of, I don't want to use the word keywords because that's already used somewhere, but like boldface words that show up in powers. Like, for instance,
I think what you're saying is you want to have some words like something that when you see cannot be counted or ignored. Cannot be counted or ignored is this power is persistent.
Yeah, something like that. Or what's the other word? Like in the case of charge or running shot, those values are halved, and now they don't use the word replace, which can confuse people. So just point out, say like replace movement with half, and like boldface replace, so that people know, okay, so I'm gonna have, this is a replacement, so anything modified is gonna happen after this, right? Like, I don't know. There's a series of boldface words I think that they can actually throw in the rulebook, throw on the powers and abilities card, start condensing into individual word sets that just mean a thing, so that all you know is like, okay, that word set's there, this is what I need to know.
But in a game like this, because we don't have, like, I guess, a book where it's like these characters are banned from modern tournaments because we fucked up or we didn't fully realize what they do with a set 11 sets back or something, we just errata it. And then we get a player's guide that's this. And when you start, you can't play this game out of the box anymore. If you started in Wax, there were tons of characters that if you buy from Wax, it's like, nope, that character doesn't work like it's printed. That character doesn't work like it's printed. That character doesn't work like it's printed. That character's not working like it's printed. Like, you can't buy boosters anymore and play the characters out of the box because you have to read what they actually do now.
Well, I think you say Wax. I think Wax is a bad example because I was sitting
It was a bad example.
And that was a mess. That was, we had two rules guys that were ready to quit over Wax because it was just so bad. But I think your average set has 2 or 3 figures in it that don't work.
Yeah.
I think in what you're going to see coming down the pike is that should change a little bit, but I think he's right. I think we need a format in which it's played as written, and that format needs to be. I don't even know how to say it because there's nothing that parallels it in other games where there is no errata.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we just need to have it play as written and for sealed. So if it comes out of the box, and like for example, Spiral. Let's use that bad example. The wording on her now is really different from the wording on her as she came out of the box. And I think that we can eliminate a lot of confusion, like Jordan was saying, if we just played it like she was written in certain events. I think that should be a standing rule for sealed, because the player's guide has become unwieldy. It's too big. There's too much in it because it's trying to be a source for errata, and it's also trying to be a addendum to the rule book. So it's trying to do these two things.
But there are certain things that I feel like have to happen because no matter how you word it, the power combination is something that exists. Like in the Iron Man set, they have the Extremis Tony, the 70.1, and Silver Centurion. Well, we already know based on a ruling in the rulebook that game effects are once per game per character. So you'd be able to bring another torpedo out with the Tony within the same set. So either that was like they didn't play test to see that would have created a problem because you have to errata that because you didn't put the wording in and how the second torpedo gets tokens, or does it off the first tokens? Are all the tokens removed when one torpedo makes an attack? That was something that had to kind of be explained afterwards.
Well, I think that stems from a bad rule about once per game does not mean once per game. I think you change once per game rule where it is once per game, and if you are unlucky enough to let your Sword Centurion get mind controlled by an opposing character who puts out then a second torpedo or whatever, and you lose that because you're not being vigilant, that's your own fault. And that's just one example of several, I think, of once per game effects that can be stolen. Big Bar is another one. Stuff that can be stolen from you with mind control. But how many opportunities do you give for your Alpha Strike mind control to steal your torpedo, right?
The way the ruling works now, it's almost useless to mind control Silver Centurion to try and steal a torpedo because all his tokens go away. You'd have to mind control him to give him the free action. So you'd have to mind control him twice just to get the normal stuff that he does, which then you're giving him acceleration tokens to blow up his torpedo and leave you with nothing. Right, and then you have to just mind control him again to get more tokens.
I think the better one is a Big Bar. Like if I move up and mind control Big Bar, then double power action to teleport and pop you with a heavy. Okay, so that's my own fault for leaving my Big Bar out there for that mind control attack. Yeah. And I don't know. Bad rule. There's a lot of bad rules that need addressed.
Yeah, there's been a great deal of change in the game I've noticed in the last couple PAC updates, and I think one of the biggest things that they could really use out of it is a polish. Like cool new. It's just like writing computer code. You write a new function. Okay, it works. Now we have to make it work perfect, right? And they've done a great number of things, especially I think it was 2013 was one of the biggest rule change sets I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still some polish that needs to occur on that rule set. And I think before they add anything else or change another thing in the rules, it's time to clarify, make in the rule book, spend a year where they don't actually add a new thing.
And they just streamline everything.
And they just make everything perfectly readable and with little to no confusion. I think it's one of the major things that would help, me introduce a new player into the game, because I've run into a lot of new players in the tournaments, and it's just like, I didn't expect to run into a new player today. I've got 1,000 things that you're not going to understand, and I'm about to feel bad about this game. Right? And
oh, yeah. Because it almost seems like you're cheating sometimes with some things that you can come up with.
Well,
like, I played the other day, and if Jay, who was just on the show, was a new player, my team would have been like, because I blind out to push Hope out of the starting area to copy Pandora so that I Black Taloned them, and they portal across the map to Alpha Strike, and I ate a ring, and I dropped across, and all these things, and then it's just like, now I'm Alpha Striking you with 13 and 5 Pulse Wave from Ophidian with a Pandora, and it's just like, so much is going on, and if Jay was a new player, it would have been like, you're fucking cheating! I'm done with this game. You always do this shit.
I felt terrible because this actually came up yesterday as I had a brand new player. He was actually playing his second game of Heroclix against me, and I'd been told that the venue I was going to, the judge/player there, he played at nationals, so I know he's willing to play the game pretty hard. He said a lot of his guys were pretty good at the game, and a couple of the guys that I know who really know how to play the game are going to be there. And then my second round, I had to play against the new guy, and it was just I'm trying to explain everything to him and how everything works, and it's just part of me felt like I feel like he's looking at me like I'm cheating, right?
There's times that I look at my players at my venue and think they're cheating, because no one knows everything, and people find stuff all the time, and it's looking at we have three new players, and I say new as in like the last year at my venue.
Mm-hmm.
And they've all stuck around, surprisingly enough. And they're now picking it up, and they're winning games. They're not going to win a tournament there anytime soon, but they're winning games. And I think if it takes over a year to be competitive, there's something wrong with the game. Because these guys aren't donks; they're pretty bright.
Maybe to be like hardcore competitive in like the way Clix is, but I feel like I played Clix since Infinity Challenge, but I've taken breaks on and off.
Mm-hmm.
I quit from, I guess, Hammer of Thor and came back in Wolverine and the X-Men. Just that change in the game was so big. I had to learn everything from the beginning. It was like learning a brand new game. All I knew was that there were squares and where the stats were.
I think with Crisis and then Secret Invasion, that's where your big changes in the game began to happen. That's where the game really began to expand what it could do. And then if you were gone for that mess, and you missed like the changing Colossals, you missed 2 pack changes, that's a lot to miss.
Mm-hmm.
That's a rough transition. The game that it is now, Heroclix is not the Heroclix it was in 2002.
Nowhere close.
It's your imagination. The only thing they have in common is that there are superheroes and there's a dial with numbers on. That's the only thing. That's it. Everything else around the game is different. Even the maps are different. The maps aren't hand drawn anymore. Now they're computer generated.
Yeah.
Maps have rules.
Yep. There's 3 levels, 4 levels, sometimes 5 levels of elevation on maps now.
Yeah.
When back in the day, elevation was something you had to point out yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that elevator or is that a blocking truck? I don't know. There's no stairs.
I think I pulled out an old Infinity Challenge map, and I don't think there was green square highlights for the hindering terrain. It's like that's a bush.
Oh, no. It was just a little bush, and there were... I have a lot of those maps because I'm reminiscent, but I love the 4-player maps, but besides the fact that there were trucks, and I remember playing back in the day, and the biggest thing playing the game was arguing what terrain was. because I would push over to something and be like, oh, it's elevated, my guys can fly and sit on it, and then like I can move and shoot. And then people were like, well, you can't move there, it's blocking. And I was like, it's a flatbed truck, why can't I stand on the top? That clearly takes up these 6 squares. And it's like, well, where's the ladder for people who aren't flyers to get up there? And then it's just like, well, did they just mess up, or is this elevated with no stairs, or is this blocking? Is it hindering? Can I hide in the truck? Because it's the back of a truck, I should be able to hide in it.
Yeah, actually, it's funny when Brian mentioned the change, you coming back from like Hammer of Thor to Wolverine and the X-Men. I got brought back, like kind of force-fed the game back into me around the time that GSX had come out, and because my buddies don't like to learn the rules, they were still playing classically, you know, what we'd learned before this short space between the NECA purchase and the Topps sell. And I think was Colossal Stamina. I started reading this, and it was like, wait, Colossal, that's not pushing damage they're taking. Right? And just explaining these things to even the people who are trying to re-explain the rules to me, it was just like, and then I think Leadership was the one that caught me off guard the most at first. It was like, wait, Leadership does what now?
No, mine was I think like Energy Explosion was a big change. Like, there was I always remember the changes with TK always being like this crazy thing. Stealth changed on a regular basis where like it worked well within the game, but then it had to change, and then it nerfed everything, and then it was like, oh my god, I hate this because it's this invisible wall that you can't shoot but blocks things.
All right. Well, we're at time at this point, a little past our time that we actually originally planned. So I want to thank again Mr. Brian Rupp for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's really great. I appreciate getting on.
Yep. And I hope that everything goes well with the Troll Kingdom tournament. Look forward to hearing about it. Drop us a line, let us know, and maybe we'll all talk about it in the Metafix. Jordan?
Well, I think we're going to try and find a guy to do a podcast there, and then maybe talk to people that are playing and all that. Well, maybe I would like to get on, maybe talk about it afterwards and see how we did.
Okay. And yeah, I'll help you by linking that on the Facebook, and we'll keep people informed about how it's going, and I'll probably throw a link to your HG Realms post about it on our Facebook today.
Okay. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just kind of wrapping up now. So thank you again, Jordan, as always, for being part of the team and joining us today. Sorry for keeping you so late.
Thank you for having me.
And I also have to throw in our little mention to the Cartamagica team, who will be on twitch.tv/CartamagicaTV doing their live stream within the next couple of minutes. I'm probably going to get the email notification soon. If they're not live yet, go on there and follow them. It's always fun to watch them play casual games. They get a great angle on the game. And they're always fun to watch. So, yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and have a good one.
Thanks a lot, man. Take it easy.